always a link. Yeah? If you click the link, and we will do that, we will end up in the GAMP portal. What I want to do now is to go into the ConOps block by block. Yeah. And when we talk about that, you will be surprised because there's almost nothing. Yeah. But let's figure out what the challenges may be, and I would love you to put down some questions for fight. Yeah. So we go through it, and you take your own notes so that you are prepared for the presentation of Mr. Veit Vogelsang. And in between, you can raise some questions so that you can better have a better correlation between the presentation and the practice and the experiences and whatever they learned. Yeah. And sorry. No, I forgot to show this. So, okay. And the requirements set by the GAMP portal, yeah? And the ASCII framework. So this is when we start with the first block, the baseline. So this is where you start from, and this is again not a standard. We are not talking about the shelf of ICAO annexes. Yeah? It says, okay, you have an airport, and on the airport you have a tower, and you provide service from the tower. Yeah, okay, that's easy. That's a baseline. Is this true for all airports you're responsible for in Vietnam? Yeah. Because in the world there are examples where they do have airports with no tower and no remote. So okay, it's true. Okay, perfect. So and there is no block zero. There's no block zero for good reason. So you already jump into something, and now it's interesting. Normally, block one would say, as we learn, block one is something which is innovation. It's under development. It's not yet there. Yeah. But you may strive for it. And this is interesting, and therefore it should be renewed as soon as possible, because there are so many examples in the world where we do have a robust air traffic services provided by remote towers, right? So, however, so it's block one. An aerodrome may be, yeah, aerodrome ATS may be provided from a facility other than an on-site tower. Yeah? Could be physically located at the aerodrome or at a distant location. That's interesting. How do you read that? You see, it's super vague. Yeah. If I would be responsible, I would immediately task someone to work on this and to rephrase it. Can you tell me what do you understand from just having a look at this explanation? What do you read here? What is that? And I will give you the one or the other example before Mr. Veit has come.
So actually, the service, the IKS service provided to that aerodrome is not provided from the physical tower, but actually it can be like a building or maybe anything at that aerodrome, or maybe at some distant
Absolutely.
location.
Absolutely. And this is super important to understand, because it's a total different story to introduce a remote tower on this side of the aerodrome you want to provide the service for, than if you would go 500 kilometers away somewhere else. It's a total different story. It's much easier. You will have lots of challenges, but it's much easier. Why is that so? Do you have an idea? If you think aerodrome services, what is the work of an aerodrome controller? What all the various things he has to do? What do you think?
So
communication. You think communication would be an issue? And please compare. You have the remote tower on site.
yeah.
With you have the remote tower maybe 500 kilometers away.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now imagine the functions of the controller.
Mm. Yeah, you can imagine.
Yeah,
You mean that for a service from a tower in the remote location,
mm-hmm.
it is more difficult than the tower located in the aerodrome.
Absolutely.
But we can team viewer or remote access to the tower in the aerodrome.
Mm-hmm.
think so about the delay, the resolution,
Yeah, delay.
Latency?
the latency,
The latency is
the resolution.
latency could be an issue. It turned out to be not an issue. Doesn't he will tell you because we were thinking, wow, maybe we lose time because of the distance and the latencies. No, it was not a big issue. You have to set a requirement, yeah, and it will be okay. But so super stupid things like the lightning. You have to shut on and shut off the lightning, yeah, of the airport.
Why?
Lightning.
The lamps.
Ah, yeah.
Or if you have sometimes
no lightning, latency.
no
Latency.
latency is one thing, but I'm talking about the lights. The lights on the airport.
Okay.
Yeah? This is a different thing. You have
Yes.
it's a different thing. Yeah, and this was a problem.
But we don't have like full control of the lighting system.
You don't have. Or a very stupid example. For example, we haven't thought about that. I don't want to take things from him away. We haven't thought about that. So you have taxiways, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to cross something, and you have a kind of
Stop bar.
a stop bar is down there. Yeah, stop bar is also a good thing. You have to shut on and shut off the stop bar maybe. Or there is a traffic light,
Yeah.
which is operated from the tower.
Yeah.
Traffic light.
A traffic light.
Yeah. But we still have the view to that area, right?
Traffic light.
You have the view, but you have to have a
Cái
remote
nó ví dụ
and
như
a
là
connection
mấy
500
dòng là
kilometers
nó
that the
không
light
chạy
will go
nó mát
on and
đôi modem
I can understand simply
hoặc là tắt tất cả mọi
if
thứ
you
sáng
look
ra
at
thì nó thì không sẽ chỗ đấy
the
Cái,
tower
nó có
located
cái
in the room,
ASMGCS
everything will be
level
like
3
the
thì
real.
là nó sẽ có là đường
everything is almost
Yeah.
like you had a standard tower. Only some things are different. So and this makes it a huge importance. So just to give you an idea why this is absolutely an interesting thing. In Munich we do have the Munich airport, 2 runways, 026, independent, and we have a beautiful tower. It's so beautiful, but it's so old. It's like a flower, yeah. It's like a flower. And now the air condition is broken, and we have no chance to renew the air condition during operation, because everything was built in terms of and now we have an understanding with the airport that we have to build a new tower. The tower belongs to the airport, so the airport has to pay for the tower. And he said, "Wow. Can we think about alternatives? Everyone is talking about remote tower. Can we do something like this?" And we said, "For Munich airport, it's so busy, so busy. Perhaps not a really good idea, yeah. So we need to have a new tower." And now we are coming up with a hybrid, yeah. We come up with a hybrid. We will build a new tower,
Ở bên này là
and at the same time we started a project with an on-site remote facility.
So you buy a new like on-site tower, physical tower.
There will be a new on-site tower,
Yeah.
like we do DFS towers, which are much more functional, and you can, during operation, you can change things and replace things easily. And there will be a remote tower as well. You can use it as backup, yeah. You can jump in times of technical projects where you have to bring down the operations, where you cannot work from the tower, so things like that. So this is an interesting approach to come up with a hybrid. So what I try to pass on is remote tower does not necessarily mean that you go somewhere else. Yeah, a remote tower could be a solution that you bring out this remote tower idea, this approach on site. And by this, you just improve the efficiency. Yeah, you will dramatically improve the efficiency of ATS at the aerodrome. ATS provision at the aerodrome. So therefore, this for me was interesting to understand. Okay, let's jump into the into the ASBO thread now. It's like, this is what you can do back home. I hope that everything will work now. That looks good, you know. This leads you not to the GUMP portal. This leads you directly to the block description. And it shows only one element. Yeah? Yep. Let's go to the element. This is also all in the presentation, right? But I think it's better to go to the GUMP portal. So and then we can look at the element. What is the CONOPS of the element? Of course, I want to have more than the functional description because I have an idea about the functional description. So what's going on here? Oh, sorry. Again, the main purpose to provide ATS services at aerodromes, not from a traditional tower site, but remotely, either from local or distant location. So we were talking about human factors a lot yesterday. What do you think when we talk human factors? What do you think? What does that mean? Human factors. Just some ideas that may come across your mind when you do this change. You move from a traditional on-site tower to a remote tower, whether it's on-site or at a distant location. What do you think? What people think about that? What do you think? What that could mean for people? No problem. Of course, sir. Yes, sir.
For example, I don't want to see on the screen for the whole day instead of looking outside. Or such a good weather like this.
Yeah.
It could be an effect to your eyes on the screen. Yeah.
Please take some notes. Please put down some things you may ask Mr. Veit. Yeah. What was the situation in terms of human factors considerations here at DFS? Because people may tell you, I decided to become a tower controller because I love to work on a tower. I didn't intend to work in front of a screen. Then I could have applied for an en route controller, for example. Yeah. So perhaps you just take some notes in terms of, if you're interested in this project, remote tower at Vietnam, right?
Yes.
If you're interested in that, what do I have to consider in terms of, for example, human factors? Okay. So we can jump to the dependencies, which is very important. This, and you were striving for an idea of what the dependencies do I have to consider, right? Of course, surveillance, which is kind of standard for aerodrome services, right? Not that easy. How do you manage surface movements when you are at a distant location? How do you assure that you have all the information you need and you have the overview and oversight of it? Right? So many things you should have for a standard approach, standard tower on-site, but some things are different.
One question.
Yeah.
With ASR B02 MLAT, right now we are using
MLAT?
yeah.
This one?
Instead of MLAT, we have SMR, ISM-UCS. It can MLAT is one condition that we airports like finished, or I mean, can we change MLAT to SMR, because right now in Vietnam we only have MLAT in one airport, and the other one using SMR. Is that can assume that they are the same? Because
No, you cannot. But I try to understand your question. So you have at one airport you have multilateration, right? Multilateration, which is part of your surveillance architecture, right? So what do you survey with MLAT? Because I think you are confusing surface movement, yeah, SMGCS, for example, yeah, with MLAT, which you use more for approach and fine and things like that. So therefore, if this, yeah, okay. So then this is confused, and you cannot replace one with the other. Yeah.
so,
Okay.
for example, in SNET we have
The safety net.
yeah,
Yeah.
the safety net with STCA. The relevant is MLAT. So if we have SMR, it cannot be replaced.
No, you
Okay.
cannot. You cannot.
And,
They are different. They have different functions.
Yeah. So let's have a look at this. But I love your question. That's just beautiful, because when you sit back home and you want to answer this question, you can ask your colleague, yeah, or you can just go in and say, okay, what is the main purpose of multilateration? In this respect, there is a dependency, and what is the main purpose? You can just look it up. To provide an alternative to radar surveillance by using available aircraft transponders. Yeah. And here you have the more concrete description.
Additional facility.
So, and here you can, from this you can derive your answer in terms of, no, I cannot replace my surface movement
okay.
grounded by MLAT. Yeah. But MLAT is a good thing, as we did, because it's our takeaway, our learning, that we should come up with a more diverse approach on surveillance architecture. So it's not only, as we talk, it's not only GPS based, yeah. It's not only standard surveillance radar, it's multilateration and so on and so forth, ILS. So it's a very robust approach, huh? if you have. And of course, if you want to go down in terms of separation minima, or you have some requirements in terms of you want to have independent operations at an airport where the center lines of the two airports are not far enough away from each other, right? There are some requirements from ICAO that if you have the technical support, for example, by MLAT, you can apply the one or the other procedure, but only if technology supports. Yeah. So, and these are all the dependencies you have to take into consideration. Yeah. Okay.
One question about
Yes, please.
the benefit and the need for the DAT.
Okay.
I know that the DAT will need the can you come down to the
Yeah, but what I try to do is
Information.
yeah they require the AMET.
let me put it this way so that we have more information. So here we had. So now we go down to the enablers, and you were talking about needs or okay, sorry.
Yeah, can we go up as
Yeah, of
the
course.
need and benefit? Yep.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah. So
Dependency.
This you're talking about dependencies? Or?
yeah, about dependencies.
Mhm.
So the DAS will require the AMET. Yeah, it's reasonable because they must have the meteorological forecast for the tower, of course. But why the DAT will benefit the surveillance and the surf block? I don't see like any connection between like if we have a remote tower and with the MLAT, how the remote tower can benefit the MLAT.
how the remote tower can benefit the MLAT.
Yeah.
No, it does not. It does not benefit the MLAT. It's just a dependency. There are dependencies you have to take into consideration.
So what does this mean? Like benefit in this case? How dependency can be explained for the benefit fighter?
I hope I get you right. We need to distinguish between dependencies,
Yeah.
enablers, and benefits. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is just a dependency. If you think of doing ATS for an airport,
Yeah.
these are the things you have to take into consideration. They are dependencies, so you have to look into that. Yeah. So I want to do remote tower on site or from a distant location, and then you have to go into your surveillance architecture or approach to understand: is there something that I have to take into consideration because I do something different? Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, because you are used to have everything in place with the standard tower. Yeah. And of course, you have your surveillance infrastructure and everything because the ATCO needs the information, whatever it is. And now you change something. And they're just telling you, don't forget, there is a dependency. If you do this different from today, have a look into how he will get the information from MLAT. Have a look in how, is there something? Yeah, don't forget to look at it.
Yes,
Not more.
yeah, we try to look for it, but we want to clarify benefits and need. Yeah, in dependency only. And okay, as my understand, I understand that benefits like MLAT
Yeah.
that is for the ATS or digital tower. Yes, MLAT we need encourage to use MLAT. We with the remote tower we have to use the MLAT and another facility.
So this is
ADS.
perhaps to make it very different, very easy. Yeah? Dependencies and relations. It just says if you want to go for this element, yeah,
Yes.
don't forget to look into, yeah, 1, 2,
Yes.
3. I'm just showing you this because please take the one or the other note in order to challenge Mr. 5. Yeah. When you put into your operation your RTC center in Leipzig, yeah. What was the relation to MLAT? Yeah. Did you have to consider something special, or was it just business as usual? Yeah. And he could tell you, oh, MLAT was a challenge. Yeah, you're right. Something like this, yeah. No, there was no issue. We just had to assure the good connection, solid, and the backup, whatever latency was okay. Yeah, all this stuff. But you have to look into it. That's all.
So let's go deeper into this example. For example, if I plan a digital tower and I already have the SSR in my airport, and I see that in the ASCO, I see that you have SSR, but you still have to look at the ADSB and MLAT. And if I see that, well, probably I already have enough SSI is enough for me, so I just consider, but didn't decide to invest an MLAT system into the airport.
Absolutely. It's just a check mark.
I understand. So
It's-
actually, it's not a must, but actually, it's just like you have to pay attention.
It's a dependency. Yeah?
Okay, I understand.
It's a dependency. Yeah. You have to look into it, and then you can do a check mark.
Mình muốn phân biệt chữ benefit và chữ need thôi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And about the relation information need. Actually, for example, if I want to have the digital tower, I must have the visual observation information, right? That's the must.
Of course.
I understand.
Of course. So when you have MLAT in operation at one airport in Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
Which airport is that?
Phuket Airport. It's an island.
It's an island. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you have MLAT over there?
We get the ODA. We get the ODA process from Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So normally you would introduce MLAT because you need MLAT.
Yeah.
Yeah. For whatever reason. Yeah. Okay. So this would mean if you go about a remote solution for Foucault, right?
Yeah.
And you had a reason to implement MLAT, not only because there was a product from Japan, but because you needed the accuracy and whatever, yeah, from MLAT. Yeah?
Yeah.
Then you need to take into consideration that
Mm.
that it continues.
Understand.
Yeah. But normally you wouldn't put into operation, you wouldn't introduce MLAT for no reason, because just you have it, right? Normally you wouldn't do that. Okay. Okay. So then you have all the enablers again, right? And this is the beauty of this seminar, that you now can please take the chance to ask Mr. Veit Vogelsson, okay, what was the response of the CAA? Yeah, was the national regulatory framework in place? Yeah, what were the biggest challenges, for example? Yeah, operational procedures. Were there big changes? Yeah, operational procedures. Yeah, what was the impact? What do I have to take into consideration? Contingency. Yeah, if you do remote, what does contingency mean? Yeah. Wow, training. Yeah. Plan, this will be an issue. Remote talk. All on your desk, sorry. Yeah. Is it just normal tower training? Tower controller training? Is it just normal tower controller training?
No.
Maybe not.
No.
Yeah. But you could ask Mr. Veit what was the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Well, yeah.
Perhaps he will touch on it. If he forget to touch on it, ask him. Yeah, take the chance. Okay. What about training?
So back to the human factor.
Yeah.
I wonder
Như vậy
if
là cái
we
phần
explore
phần ở bên
remote
dưới nếu như
tower.
nó là option ấy thì có thể có thể không, đúng không? Còn need thì là phải có,
Organization
còn
of
benefit là bình thường, có cũng không có cũng được.
or
Ok, nói chung là chỉ có mỗi cái need là phải có thôi.
or yes.
Cái benefit thôi.
Sorry, maybe you have for VTM. You have to.
Because now we have people in the tower, local tower,
Yeah.
and when we deploy remote tower, people will stand
có thể không có bất kỳ
in
cái nào.
Need đây
another
thì họ sẽ
location,
AMS
maybe in the network
một hai
center,
bốn thôi.
and can control some tower, remote
Option thì
tower.
là chọn một trong
So
hai.
the amount of people will
Nếu như nó
reduce.
để nếu như có hai cái option thì nên có một trong hai cái đấy, đúng không?
Yeah.
Yêu cầu chỉ có ba
This is
cái thôi.
this is a very important
Ví dụ như
question.
cái
So
này
why
có
do
hai
you
cái
do remote tower
option,
control?
hai cái option và một
Why
cái
would you
benefit,
do that?
đúng không?
Vin, do you have an idea? Why would you do remote tower control? Why should you try to follow this to introduce this project? Why would you do that? Remote tower control.
To save
It's
the
flexible.
money.
Flexible?
Cut off people.
Yeah.
Flexible
Cut off cost.
and
Yeah, you cut off costs. It's
it's
all about efficiency. It's all about cost.
of course it has the advantage more than the convention.
So it will be interesting to understand what new functionalities we were able to introduce. Yeah. Normally, I've been a tower controller. This was my first license. Then I moved on to approach and en route. Yeah. So tower control, and you may end up in a foggy. Yeah, it's foggy or so, or you have a better condition. You cannot see. Yeah. As a remote tower controller, you can see, because you have an infrared camera. You have all this stuff. Suddenly, you can see things.
More technology.
Yeah, you have different technology.
But actually, for example, like
If I wasn't a air traffic controller on a tower, yeah, and I say, okay, the aircraft is over there, but I have to concentrate here, yeah. Okay, I was trained to have a kind of, picture in my head, yeah. I didn't forget. But now, I can lock on a specific camera on this aircraft. I will have a separate display, and the camera will follow the aircraft. I just said, okay. Yeah. Like this. So there are many, many new functionalities. There's a lot of technology that will be at hand of the ADCO. So it's new, right? But it's all about cutting down the costs. So you have an airport with only 3, 4, 5, 6 movements a day. Why should you have a super expensive tower on site and people maybe, 8 hours a day, if not more, right? And as Toan just said, this is what we are striving for at DFS by implementing the Remote Tower Control Center and by introducing up to 5 airports only for Leipzig. Yeah? And 5 airports mean you have maybe 3 working positions. Normally this is Tower Saarbrücken, and this should be Tower Münster, and this should be Tower Dresden, and so small airports. Yeah? And what we want to have people obtaining the license for all these airports. Yeah? So that you do Saarbrücken, and you may stand up and go to this place and do Dresden, and then you go here and do Bremen. Yeah? And the next step is you sit here and do Münster, and then you do, and this is Bremen. Yeah? Dresden. Okay? And this has a tremendous impact on costs. Tremendous impact on costs. You bring stuff down and people are the most expensive thing you have. Yeah? Like that.
But just for discussion, but I don't think the difference between the remote tower and the local tower regarding to the technology so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to have more and more camera, you can still fit on the local tower, and people can see in the screen like a remote tower. It's no big problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the remote tower or digital tower, you have how many device for the local tower we can do.
Yeah.
But I think the most issue is center monitoring, and for many tower, much more than one tower for the remote tower.
I'm not so sure whether this is the biggest problem. This is more a problem for licensing and your conversation you will have with the competent authority. Mm-hmm. And maybe a union if you have a union. Yeah. Because the union wants to protect the people and want to keep the numbers of people up higher normally. Yeah. So, and you will be surprised with what you have to deal. Yeah. Normally a tower control is used to have a beautiful workplace, right? And the 360, yeah, that's beautiful. And you don't have that anymore. Yeah, there are ANSPs in the world who started an approach that says it should feel like no change. So they asked, for example, Saab or others to come up with huge screens like that, yeah, and then 360. So as a tower controller, you sit and you can do like that. There's no need to have that, but it feels maybe better. Yeah. And don't laugh at me. I've been to one of those places, yeah, and they had even a binocular, yeah, for the supervisor. And there was a table a little bit apart. I had a binocular to look at the screen. I said, "Are you kidding me?" No, it's part of our ConOps. I said, "Okay, yeah." In Leipzig, and you will see that we have 3 screens, maybe 4. It's not even 180, yeah? But you can move the picture, yeah? So you have a 360 depicted on screens to just cover 180 degrees, and everything is moving. This makes a change.
Yes.
Yeah? You have a lot of cameras.
Yeah.
A lot of cameras. And suddenly you have a spider sitting on a camera 500 kilometers away. A spider building a net. Of course, you had a precaution, yeah? But the spider is very strong. So there are many things you have to take into consideration. It's really fun. It was a nice project, but he will tell you more about that. But these are super important questions because it's a huge change for people.
Yes.
And not only if you go for a remote tower center with more airports. Just the first thing, it's a huge change.
Yeah.
And again, you need to find the acceptance, and therefore you need to address these questions or even more. Yeah.
Không lo thiếu kiểm soát viên.
So please ask Mr. Veit, what have been the experiences? What have been the most important challenges when talking to people? This is just one example. So you have the technology part. Ask him what were challenges in terms of technology, yeah, whether it's surveillance or the display or latency or whatever it is, yeah. What were all the dependencies and what were the human factors considerations? Anna, excuse me, you may also ask for the safety assessment, because I can tell you the safety assessment was a challenge.
Yes.
And it was not only one safety assessment, we had to do a number of safety assessments and then bring everything together to understand the entire
Cybersecurity.
everything. So there were many, many aspects here. So it's you do not do just a normal safety assessment for a remote tower. It was really a challenge. This would be a different story to share. And then you have the enablers, as we said. And again, very, very important. The intended benefits, right? And the main benefiting organization is, of course, the ANSP. But now that you bring down the costs, you will pass on to the space user normally. You do that. And they will celebrate and cheer you.
Well, about the cost, I remember that during the development of the remote tower, at first there are two approaches. One with remote tower that will provide frequencies and some other company. And another concept is just like enhanced vision screen that people still sit on the tower, but their windshield will be replaced by the enhanced vision screen that they can see the target with probably aircraft ID, right? And well, actually they still have everything normal, just like more advanced technology. But then that idea just die out, and people more focus on the remote tower, but on the on-site remote tower, that they don't have to build a very big sophisticated tower anymore. But then the idea comes to that, well, but the cost is the tactical cost is not enough. And they decided that to have several small airports into one center and to operate from there. But then the problem come with and especially the union, they oppose the transaction because they think that at that moment, ICAO didn't have any regulation or analysis on the multi-rating personnel. So about the licensing, how did you solve the multi-rating licensing?
So please keep all the questions for him, because we don't take too much of it. So first of all, I would like to agree by 100%. If you don't go about a remote tower control center from which you operate more than 2 or 3 airports, you won't have this huge cost benefit.
Yeah.
So it could just only be an intermediate step to do a single remote tower in order to support a nice change management, so that you have, that you take your people and they start to believe in that, and then the next step will be more easy. Yeah. So just an intermediate step. It could be interesting. Therefore, I provided the example from Munich. If you need a kind of hybrid situation, or you want to have a backup, the tower goes down, and from the area control center nearby, you can provide some aerodrome services, to keep up some capacity there. So there are many options you can pursue, but it's true. It's all about the remote tower control center, right? So okay, and this is, by the way, much more interesting for people. So this is a kind of that sounds interesting, to do more than one airport, and suddenly it's a different story for people. Okay. As far as the licensing concerned, we are still struggling. Also with the unions, But in the meantime, they started to support this approach. But we are still in a conversation with the competent authority who is responsible for issuing all these licenses, because we have to provide one or the other additional evidence. But I think we proceed, and Mr. Feide will have the very current situation. But it's true. But and if you can do it from the outset, as far as unions are concerned, I know this from my own experience. Unions are normally very strong, and they have strong expertise because of their members, but they also act politically. So normally you have 3 or 4 or 5 things to discuss at the same time, if not 10 or 12, right? It could be salary, it could be whatever. So, and normally if you find an agreement here and here and here, they will support this approach as well. So, but you should leave that, because this is not a technical aspect.
Yeah.
Just leave that to your managing board of directors, or the one who is representing your LDs against you. Okay. Again, here, this is maybe to be challenged, right? Cost effectiveness is number 1, as we spoke, plus. It's all about cutting down the cost, right?
Yeah.
It provides a huge degree of flexibility. This is what Win said, yeah? Next flexibility, yeah. Safety, interesting, yeah.
But why?
That's interesting, isn't it? KPI 20, we will talk about KPIs tomorrow as well, yeah. KPI 20 says it will reduce the number of aircraft accidents. That's interesting, right? Okay, Anna is responsible for safety. You may ask, Veit, yeah? From the Global Air Navigation Plan, yeah? I took the information that the intended performance impacts on safety would mean a decrease of number of aircraft accidents. Yeah? Let's tell him, he should tell us what the performance is. Yeah. And another one say, because of improved safety during service, improved safety on the runway. Yeah. That would be a good question for him to report from the real life. Okay? Yeah. Good. That's it. So we do have some categories. Huh? We have the technology part, dependencies. Please ask him. We do have the human factors considerations with regard, in particular, to training. Lan, please ask him. Yeah. Because we had to find a different approach on training. Safety, Anna, right? KPIs on safety, interesting. Yeah. On costs, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Did this materialize? Did you really reduce the costs and licenses?
Yeah.
What about the licenses for? Okay, wonderful. I think that's good. He should be here already, doesn't matter. This gives us time for a small coffee break. Let's get a nice cappuccino.
Yeah.
And then we're looking forward to have this presentation. Yeah. And let us think about Jan for a moment, because he is just performing his medical. He's giving lots of blood and everything. And